Salam and welcome back to our Dispatch's YouTube channel. My name is Abdullahi Yusuf. This week in Somaliland. Somaliland's national opposition parties, Wadani and UID, have this week confirmed the collapse of the presidential election dispute mediation, blaming the president, Muse Bihi Abdi, for the failure and the dispute. The elections are slated for this coming November. Also this week, Somaliland Information Minister Saleebaan Kore banned the BBC Somali service and ordered the shutdown of their FM radios in that region. Also, the Kulmiye party co-founder, as he claimed, and longtime minister Mahmoud Hashi announced today the registration of KAAH party, further fragmenting the embattled ruling party Kulmiye. To discuss those issues, we've contacted politician and activist Yonis Hassan Abdi Kheyre. Yonis, welcome once again to Somali Dispatch. Thank you for your time tonight. If you can, catch up our audiences on what went wrong on the electoral mediations between the government and the two opposition national parties would be great.
Abdullahi, thanks for having me tonight. I appreciate your time. Good evening, everybody. Just wanted to emphasize, simply clear what the government wants to do. Opposition parties have tried every angle and every way to solve this matter, even gathering three levels of branch of the government, heads, all three levels have come to these meetings, the others, but yet, keep in mind, this president has one thing in his mind, in his agenda, is to not have an election. Basically, all these meetings, it comes down to his refusal. All three levels of government heads came down with the others. When they meet the opposition parties, I asked them, can we mediate? They said, fine, go ahead, you have our consent. The president have yet one time give consent to mediate this in a good faith. So the mediation has been going on for 3 weeks. Nothing came up because of the president's refusal to give consent.
Right. And as everybody might know, some of our audience may know, the mediation group consists of elders and religious clerks and respected individuals in Somaliland who saw the potential for violence and intervened and tried to mediate between the two parties. And the crux of the, if you could explain it to our audience, what the crux of the dispute is about would also be great.
Simply, the dispute is clear. The opposition parties and the mediators are simply saying that let's hold the elections on November 13th. Be mindful. The only dispute that is the governor, is the president and the current government, a refusal to have the elections. So what are they doing? They're just playing a mind game to everybody. They're pretending that there's a mediation going on, but yet the end result is always he's not willing to negotiate. The simple matter is the law is written. You can have, his argument was just to say, okay, I want to open parties. You can register the parties, but your election is first, is mandated. So let's have your elections. The only reason he doesn't want to have the elections, he knows he will lose the elections. It's that simple.
What are the oppositions to do now? As you said, it's been 3 weeks since the mediation started, to no avail. Time's running out. The registration of the political associations are underway. What are the two opposition parties, Wadani being the main one, and UID, what are they to do? What are their options?
They've tried every angle. Every angle has been exhausted. So the only thing they need to do, and the voters they're anxious to simply had enough of this negotiation that's not going anywhere. So the only thing that they have to do right now is to come out and demonstrate peacefully. So the whole world can see. They can demonstrate, let they speak their mind, and so on. So to do that, then the government will come to their sense. As long as we're not doing that as oppositions, keep this tactic the president is doing, They're falling for that TikTok games. They're just falling behind. So now that everything is done, the first thing in the morning, on Monday morning, they need to come out and gather their supporters and gather the supporters and come out and demonstrate. And the whole world can see.
Right. There seems to be also a contention in how to register a political association and the vetting that one a party has to go through. That also is slanted by the presidency. Can you explain that to our audiences?
You can register the parties. The whole purpose is he's doing this is to have tactics. So you can remember to have in the president elections, you need at least 4 months, 120 days to prepare the election for the president. So keep that in mind. If you don't have that gap being ready and prepared, then there won't be elections for the president. So in his goal is to have extension. Said, you know what, we've tried, we run out of time. So let's give me extension for 2 years. I'll get it done. Yada, yada, yada. The whole nine, we know the game. So to avoid that, opposition needs to come up and give him a clear mandate, said, you know what, we're going to go out there and demonstrate and speak our mind. And not follow the president is playing mind game. Well, I'm opening parties, I'm doing this. It's all just games to kill the time so they don't have that 4 month gap, the commissioner, to do their job.
And just to go back a bit, to register a party, one has to fulfill certain requirements as per the constitution. Who's in charge of that process, and what's the concern that a lot of people have in registering and running, or registering a political association?
I'm glad you asked that question. This is all just games. There's a committee of 7 people. That committee is chosen by the government. What does that tell you? They're only doing what the president wants. If the president does not want you to come out, no matter how much you fulfill all requirements, if the president does not want you, or he feels threat that your party will overtake his party, there is no clear mandate that you will come out, because the people that are making the decisions is being elected, not a fair group is only elected by the government, by the president. 7 people, the 7 people are the one going through the chart and saying that, okay, you fulfilled so and so, have done this requirement. It's all just BS and games, end of the day.
Right. Having said that, one of the most prominent Somaliland politicians, a co-founder of Kulmiye ruling party, a longtime minister, Mahmoud Hashi, is the latest politician to announce a party named KAAH. What is his angle and what are his prospects?
Mohamud Hashi is a veteran man. He knows what he's doing. But regardless, like I said, end of the day, you can have the best politicians. You can fill all requirements. If the president doesn't want you to come out when it comes to the vending, you will not come out. So you're just wasting your time and the money and the resources that you're putting this registration. It's all a show to the president, pretending that he's doing something so he can waste time. Say that I'm trying to register these parties. While I was doing this, I didn't have time for my elections. Therefore, give me extension. It's just simple.
Right. Another threat to the current political national parties is that the government and the president are insisting that the existing parties also have to register and go through that process, which is alarming. But to move on to the next item, Somaliland has also this week banned the BBC's Somali service. What is going on there, and why do you think that is?
There's only one thing to say there. This president is simply clear that he took the steps to be a dictatorship. My way or the highway. There is no democracy in Somaliland. There's no free speech in Somaliland. Let's get that clear. The whole world knows. Anybody that does not know, now you can hear my voice. Even if you speak and you're just like I'm speaking right now, the government will arrest you. There's no free speech. The law has given you can free speech. Any citizen can speak, but the government, as long as you are criticize the government, what they're doing is wrong, the government will arrest you. So to say, and the reasons that they oppose BBC is telling the truth, and the BBC is big, as you know, the whole world will know. The BBC was asking for the last 2 weeks questions, why is the president not having the elections? So they get annoyed. They didn't like those questions. So to avoid the whole world not to know what's going on internally is to shut down BBC. But what they didn't understand was there's other anchors that can send the messages like you and the world to know. You cannot keep everybody hush, 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 and nobody will know what I'm doing. People will know what you're doing. What you're doing is a dictatorship. You want to sit in there. You're being elected free society. You cannot dictate when you're being elected. Your terms is up. It's simply either you go on a vote, you go on an election, take your chances, or exit. He doesn't want that. He wants to act like he owns the country.
Right. So Somaliland has, in recent years, spending a lot of efforts and resources in rebuilding and reinvigorating its quest for independence from Somalia. Senator Jim Riches, of Ohio, a Republican, this week criticized the move to shut down and ban the BBC World Service and the Somali Service. What does this mean for those who support Somaliland's quest for independence, and what sort of a picture is it finally painting to have such a senator to speak out against what the Somaliland government is doing?
It's very bad. It's clearly, I agree with him 100%. You're asking the nation, the world, to be independent. How do you want to be independent when you can't handle free press? It's the simple mathematics. In order to have independent, you have to willing the other people to criticize you, to show that this country is willing to free speech, respect free speech, and free press. They can criticize you. It's okay, but you cannot shut everybody because they're not saying what you like to hear. Keep that in mind. And you're asking the world to give you independent. What are they going to give you independent when you're acting like savages? When you're acting like savages, how can you be independent?
Right.
If today if the world comes and asks for a vote, nobody wants this government, the president and his parties, but yet he wants to rule iron fist. That's 30 years ago. It's not going to happen today.
Right.
Nobody will allow that.
It was interesting to know that the senator from Ohio mentioned that Somaliland should live up to its claims of democracy and free speech, and that was telling. Finally, the role of the international community in what's going on in Somaliland has been missing, to say, to put it politely, actually.
Yes.
I know you've spoken to this previously, but in the last few minutes we got here, what would you like to tell them?
Brother, keep in mind, there's actually just an incident that just happened. Somalia. Remember when they have the elections and the oppositions? In order the society, the international to get involved, they see what the opposition was doing in Somalia. They came and demonstrated. And what happened? The governor, the president, retired and then bring in guns. So what do they do the next time? They bring arms. Then that's when the society in the international will say, hey, wait a second. We can't have a civil war here. If the oppositions are gonna be armed and the governor is gonna be armed, then it'll be clash. So that's what the only time I'm telling the oppositions to go demonstrate. Let's see what the governor, the president and then his party does. If they're willing to have free election demonstration, peaceful. But if they don't, and the world can see it, and then the world can get involved. Other than that, the world will not get involved until you do your X, Y, Z. You have to demonstrate, and let's see what happens. If there is a clash, then the international world will say, hey, you can't do this. That's this is the steps that is very important. The opposition, Somaliland, to do what Somalia just did, come out forcefully, demanding to be the election to happen. Then something will change. But as long as you're playing his mind game, having a debate and nothing, end of the day is going to happen, he will have his way.
Right.
The only time, like I say, international will get involved if things get out of hand. But everything right now, international is saying that we don't see anything is out of hand. They're living peacefully, side by side. The opposition are not doing anything about it. That's why I'm saying the opposition needs to come out and demonstrate. Right.
Appreciate your time today, Yonis. As always, your insights are most refreshing and welcomed here. I look forward in having similar conversations in the near future on hopefully on a different, more positive items to discuss. Thank you so much tonight.
I appreciate your time, my brother.